No, I have not invented a cloning machine to come up with this comparison. What we're actually looking at is two separate models of the MacBook Air. And even though the 2014 version of the MacBook Air is identical physically to its previous counterpart, we're going to see whether the minor upgrades inside translate to any real-world performance differences. So without any further ado, let's get right into this comparison. Now, in terms of specification, we're going to be really pulling out our hair to find any kind of real differences between these two computers. Basically, from a physical and internal standpoint, they're both using the same architecture and the same overall specifications. So both have the same 1440 by 900 display, 720p FaceTime camera, 4 gigs of DDR3, AC Wi-Fi capabilities, and the same insane 12 to 13 hour battery life, give and take a couple of minutes. The only thing I kind of hoped for was an update to the Thunderbolt connection on the 2014 edition, but unfortunately we still have Thunderbolt 1. I really wish that they put Thunderbolt 2 so we can get the full 20 megabits per second for higher bandwidth data transferring speeds, but for many people who do not have Thunderbolt compliant devices, that may be really no big deal. Now, the only real difference is that we now have a higher clock CPU than previously. Our i5 is now clocked in about 1.4 gigahertz, and it can turbo up to 1.7 gigahertz, which is about 100 megahertz difference from the 2013 edition. Furthermore, both computers are still using the Haswell architecture, so they both have HD 5000 series graphics. Unfortunately, we do not see HD Iris graphics on the 2014 edition of the MacBook Air, which is certainly not a big deal because based on our previous experiences with Iris, you really need a higher end CPU to see really any big difference between Intel Iris and HD 5000 integrated graphics. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Geekbench 3 and see if we can see a difference between the new version of the MacBook Air. And based upon our initial benchmark, we are seeing a higher score of 7330 on the 2014 edition and about 7060 on the 2013 version. Continuing forward, our next benchmark is Cinebench, and here we're going to go ahead and further test out our CPU and see if we find any difference. And you can see over here we have a minor difference of 240 on the 2014 edition and about 232 on our 2013 edition. Now, the most peculiar and interesting experience I had benchmarking these two was definitely during the Blackmagic speed test. Interestingly, I actually got faster speeds when it came to the write test. We got over 400 on the older version of the MacBook Air and over 300 on the new version. Now, interestingly, we are still getting the same read speeds over 700 megabytes per second, and probably one of the reasons for this is Apple's supplier for SSD is probably manufacturing their memory modules a little bit differently than last year, and perhaps they're doing something to save some costs, and that's why we're sacrificing a little bit of the write performance, but in terms of read, it's pretty much there. Now, from a more realistic day-to-day using experience, you're not going to see a huge difference between 100 megabytes per second when you're doing normal tasks. You will probably see it if you're transferring a lot of data back and forth between your computer and perhaps a network device or a fast SSD external hard drive or something like that. But for most users who are getting the baseline version of the MacBook Air, that may not be a big issue because now the entry price has also been lowered by $100. Now, to test out the graphical performance of both these two laptops, we're going to fire up Unigen's Heaven benchmark and take a look, and as you can see over here, we're pretty much getting identical performance in terms of FPS. Since they're both using HD 5000 series graphics, we're both getting around 18 FPS on the 1280 by 800 setting. But that's really it, guys. There's really not a whole lot to discuss since you're pretty much going to be out of your head to upgrade from a 2013 to a 2014. There's really not much of a difference, and in some cases, the older version is faster when we take a look at the SSD performance. But the interesting thing is, if you're in the market for a new laptop and you're interested in the MacBook Air, thankfully this new version is actually $100 cheaper, so that might be something worthwhile if you find that the actual performance meets your needs. So let me know in a comment down below what you guys think of the overall comparison, and if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, and if you're interested in this product, make sure to visit the link down below, and that helps us out tremendously. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Take care.